This is Todai TV Africa, broadcasting from the Central Business District, Abuja. The year 2024 has seen precedented and unprecedented events taking place both locally and at the global level. Being the 1st of January and the 2nd, of course, we'll take a good look at some of those defining moments in the history of the year 2024. My name is Bivan Magoni. Good afternoon, and thank you for staying with us. So let's start by saying rest in peace to some notable Nigerians who died in the year 2024, like the legendary singer Onyeka Onwenu, the Chief of Army Staff, General Tari Lagbaja, John Okafor, also known as Mr. Ibu Herbert Wigwe, Jimmy Sholanke, Junior Pope, also an actor, Amechi Monago, an actor, and many more. God bless their souls. So, social media sensation Vincent Otai dominated a larger chunk of the Nigerian news, most especially on the social media space. Otai, popularly known as Very Dark Man, exposed what's happening within the Nigerian correctional facilities where people are sentenced but never actually spend time in prison. And that was followed by the revelation of Fisher Shoyombo, stating that smugglers with customs smuggle food items like rice, frozen foods, and other contraband items and products into Nigeria. And also next was Dangote, for the first time became very, very vocal over his newly built refinery with NNPC over the way they were treating products from his refinery. He went before the press time after time trying to clarify the circumstances surrounding oil production, importation, and price gauging. That happened shortly before the hunger strike, and at a point in time people were saying, hope you don't mind that if Dangote leads the protest against the hunger and the rest of that, because it was surprising to see Dangote all over the press rather, granting interviews, So, and after going against the likes of Pata and Ighodalo, Monday Okpebholo emerged winner of the Guba election in Edo State. The Edo State election was seen as free and fair, rather, in the sight of others, while to another set of people was marred with irregularities, with electoral umpire fingered to be complicit in the electoral malpractice, while the ruling PDP was accused of using thugs, security agents, and other tactics to intimidate the opposition political parties prior to the election. Noteworthy is Okpebholo's grammatical blunders before and after the election, and I guess we need to, hold it there for now. Now, Nigerian officials seek the extradition of controversial leader of a banned secessionist movement in Nigeria following his arrest in Finland on terrorism charges. Simon Ekpa, a Finnish citizen of Nigerian descent, prior to his arrest led a faction in exile of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, IPOB, a group that is fighting for a breakaway state in southeastern Nigeria. It's one piece of news that got various people from, north, west, south and east and wherever in Nigeria very much excited, because at a point in time people felt he was, misleading a lot of people. And then protests erupted in multiple cities across Nigeria in August as frustrated citizens took to the streets voicing their anger over increasing hunger and bad governance. The demonstrations spiraled out of control in parts of the country, including the northern Yobe and Kano state, where authorities declared a 24-hour curfew as private and public properties were looted in chaotic scenes that also saw many vehicles burned. In Kano, protesters stormed and looted a digital innovation park scheduled to open the following week. Communications Minister Bosun Tijani said gunshots rang out in the capital, Abuja, and also in the neighboring Niger state as police lobbed tear gas to disperse defiant protesters. In Niger, at least 6 people were feared dead, while Amnesty International reported a higher figure nationwide, which the police and the federal government all denied. Next, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu introduced a tax reform bill for states to be self-sufficient, but it was rejected by northern state governments. Governors of the 19 northern states met in Kaduna in November alongside top traditional rulers from the region, where they discussed various issues and challenges affecting the region and resolved, among others, to reject the Nigeria tax reform bill sent to the National Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, dozens of alleged protesters were also brought before a Nigerian court, sparking outrage as many of the defendants appeared to be malnourished following 2 months of incarceration. 4 young suspects who were arrested during major anti-government protests in August collapsed on the court floor in pain before being removed and taken to medical facilities for help. Human rights activists criticized the justice system as at least 1/3 of those brought in for the initial court hearing were boys aged between 14 and 18. All 76 defendants pleaded not guilty to charges of treason, felony, and inciting mutiny. In the end, the federal government succumbed to outrage by the citizens and had to free them. And that's it. Moving to the next one, at least 10 people were killed and several wounded when a Nigerian military fighter jet pursuing bandits in 2 villages mistakenly bombed civilians in the northwestern state of Sokoto. The military said it had struck targets in the vicinity of Gidan Sama and Rumtua, identified as associated with the Lakra group, a militant group that came to the public's attention in the last quarter of the year. The military warned of a new insurgent group, Lakrawas, infiltrating countries northwest region of neighboring Niger and northwest region of Nigeria, that's Niger and Mali. And then to Borno State, which was a devastating one. It faced flooding after the collapse of the Alau Dam on the 10th of September 2024. The Maiduguri and Jere local government areas were particularly affected, and according to the National Emergency Management Agency, over 70% of the residents in Maiduguri were displaced, and at least 150 people died, and the United Nations Refugee Agency in Nigeria described it as the worst to hit the city in 30 years, affecting over 1 million people. And that's it from the local news stories. And of course, we have more, but these are some of the things or stories received. And then up next, we'll be looking at top search stories by Nigerians on Google. Do stay with us. You are still with us right here on Third Eye Television, broadcasting from the Central Business District, Abuja. So we're looking at the top search by Nigerians on Google in the year 2024. So the 2024 Google's year in search topics, people and moments that inspired Nigerians to turn to search for answers, insights, and connections include the exchange rate, the U.S. presidential election, the Grammy Awards, what's like steez, yes, if you remember that, etc. came up amongst the top stories that were searched by Nigerians. They offered insight into burning questions in 2024, with how much is the dollar to naira today coming at the top. The fluctuating naira exchange rate make this a staple query in Nigerian search trends as individuals and businesses grapple with inflation, international trade, and remittances. And then transactions, real-time updates on the dollar to naira exchange rates are also critical. So how much is the iPhone 16? Smartphones have become status symbols and essential tools for daily life, driving interest in pricing the latest devices, especially as consumers weigh cost in an economically volatile climate with the question, how much is the iPhone 16? At number 3, steez. The term steez is making a comeback with the younger generation. Now, steez emerged from the hip-hop culture in the 1980s and 90s. It means style with ease, and it can refer to somebody's unique style. Now, the resurgence of Afrocentric beauty standards and self-expression have inspired Nigerians to embrace natural hairstyles with Google search. How to get perfectly defined curls for African hair. At number 4, the U.S. elections in November captured Nigerian interest. given their far-reaching implications for international relations, immigration, and economic policies. This search reflected a globally connected populace invested in understanding geopolitical shifts with the surge. Who won the U.S. election? And next, we have who won the Grammy Award 2024 came up on the Google searches of 2024 at number 6, thanks to the influence of the Afrobeat music culture with a big 3 plus. And when we say big 3 plus, talking about Wizkid, Davido, Burna Boy, plus others who are making us proud out there on Nigeria, on the Nigerian in Nigeria, and of course, and beyond. And then ice baths, popularized by athletes and fitness enthusiasts, drew curiosity as Nigerians sought ways to enhance recovery and performance in sports and physical activity, with the question, why are ice baths good for muscle recovery? And then at number 7, that's at number 7. And then at number 8, Nigerians are asking the question, who won the Ballon d'Or 2024? And then how many seconds are in a day? And then the last one is how to hype up your sports team that you support. Hype teams likely stems from fans looking for creative ways to energize their favorite teams or fan communities. Now, we'll take a break here and then look at the international scene. We had quite an interesting conversation from Israel to the U.S. election to Al-Assad and all of that. So let's see some of the top trending searches or stories that we had in the year 2024. And you tell us which of them is which of these stories are your top stories you feel were the biggest stories for you globally. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the retro. When we say retro, looking at stories took place, top stories we had in 2024. And 2024 was about, is it up to, no, it's not up to 2 days, about a day ago. All right, so on July 13, 2024, Donald Trump, a former president of the United States and the nominee of the Republican Party in 2024 presidential election, survived an assassination attempt while speaking at an open-air campaign rally near Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump was shot and wounded in his upper right ear by famous Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old man from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, who fired 8 rounds from an AR-15 style rifle from the roof of a nearby building. Crooks also killed one audience member and critically injured 2 others. He was shot and killed seconds later by the United States Secret Service's counter-sniper team. And that's one of our top stories that we had in 2021. And then on July 21, 2024, Joe Biden, the incumbent president of the United States, announced his withdrawal from the 2024 United States presidential election and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as his replacement. Harris subsequently received the Democratic nomination, but ultimately lost the election to former President Donald Trump. So that's one of our top stories there. And then in February, Russia's State Prison Service released a statement saying that opposition, let me use the word, popular opposition leader Alexei Navalny had lost consciousness and could not be revived. Navalny had been behind bars since his return to Russia in 2021, having narrowly survived a poisoning attempt that he and many others believed had been orchestrated by the Kremlin in a brutal attempt to silence one of its most popular critics. It's not a singularity, but it's a step towards it. This year marked a great leap forward for artificial intelligence, with large language models, LLMs, such as OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and Microsoft's Copilot exploding into mainstream. Next, former U.S. President Donald Trump is headed back to the White House this January, 4 years after having been voted out of office at the height of COVID-19 pandemic. The former real estate mogul and reality TV star is set to be sworn in again as president on January 20, 2024. The final year, 2025 rather, The final year of the campaign was tense. In July, the Republican presidential candidate narrowly avoided being shot in the head in an assassination attempt at a Pennsylvania rally, with one of the bullets nicking his ear and leaving him bloodied and defiant before the camera. I remember that pose, stood there. Interesting. And then in hindsight, the isolated regime of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad was more fragile than it seemed. Propped up by the Russian air support and Iran-backed militias that had poured into the country to prop up the government in Damascus as opposition forces advanced, Assad had managed to drag the brutal Syrian civil war to an uneasy hold, with swords of the country's north and west still under the control of desperate armed groups backed by competing world powers. And now, one of the biggest stories we've had in we're getting into the second year now. Israel's war on Gaza in Palestine continued into 2024, killing 23,842 people and wounding 51,924 during the year alone, driving the grisly official death toll to 46,376, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. The war began when Hamas-led militants attacked southern Israel on October 7, 2023, killing some 1,200 people and abducting around 250. About 100 hostages are still held in Gaza, at least a third believed to be dead. Israel's air and ground offensive has killed over 45,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry. It says women and children make up more than half the dead, but does not say how many of those killed were militants. The Israeli military says it only targets militants and blames Hamas for civilian deaths because its fighters operate in dense residential areas. The army says it has killed 17,000 militants without providing evidence. Well, this is where we take a pause and then we go on another break, right back with our guests in the studio. And they are not guests, they are my colleagues. We've been doing this. But this is time to review the top stories we had in 2024. Do stay with us. So this is a question I'm going to be asking a lot of people in the next few days. It's day 2 of 2025, and which means we have 11 months and 29 days before the year comes to an end. And Juliet, I would like to ask you, what have you achieved?
Okay, so far so good. I think being alive is an achievement. I'll start with that.
Okay, let's hear from you, Udo.
Being here.
Sorry.
Being here in the studio is an achievement. Because when you are alive and you are doing what you know how to do best, it's an achievement.
Okay.
So you see, these are people who are conscious of their environment, who are conscious of their existence. So whatever it is, there are some things we started last year, and I'll say, for me, it's not a new year, or I just continue where, it's just the next day. There's nothing that has changed. It's 2025, and Juliet is our new in-house personality, so you get to see this face very often, most especially if I'm not here. You're most likely to see her. Clap for yourself again, clap for yourself. And then
Thank
of
you
course
very much.
we are all familiar with Mr. Udo based on his analysis of events and happenings within and outside the country, and of course he's our editor in charge in the house here. Good afternoon, lady and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good to be here. So we are going to talk about top stories from all the stories so far. So you are going to tell us, we'll start with you. Do you tell us which story you think is the biggest story of 2024 for you? And then you tell us yours, and then we come back here, starting from number 10, and why. Give us some reasons why you feel the stories are the top stories you have. And if you're watching us live from anywhere, please do us a favor, drop your comment and tell us which of the stories you feel are your top stories. And also, stories you feel deserve to be here, but are not here. I mean, we're just doing our thing here. That's according to us, so let's also hear from you. So, Udo, let's start with you. Which story do you think, globally or personally, is the biggest story for you?
Let me start from Nigeria. The biggest story in Nigeria was the bad governance protest, the end bad governance protest, because it was a kind of Nigerians trying to say enough is enough, trying to say you have pushed us to the wall and trying to resist. And you know, in Nigeria, Nigerians are very calm, and when you push them like that, they can still take it. But this time around, they felt bread that I used to buy for 350 naira, and I'm buying it for 1,500. Milk, I cannot take it again. Sugar, I can hardly afford it. Garri, that was common to the common man, was no longer common. Talk of beans, talk of rice is no-go area, So in that scenario, we discovered that Nigerians decided all over, it's like they were waiting for that opportunity for them to register their mind and tell the government that, look, we can no longer take it. So they went on the street, they protested. Of course, not all Nigerians. Some were still, let's see whether this thing, and of course, there are people that wouldn't want to go to the streets. Not that they are happy about what was happening, but they wouldn't want to go to the street. But those who felt that, look, this is an opportunity, they went to the street and registered their protest. So that was the lead story to me of 2024.
Okay, before we get to your story, what was 2024 year? What was the year 2024 like for you as an individual?
Okay, as an individual, I would say 2024 was a roller coaster because of, the economy transitioning.
Okay.
So transportation went high, food high. So I wouldn't really say it was bad because despite the low moments, despite the high cost of things, I still, got incomes, which was like a balance for me.
Okay.
So in summary, it was a roller coaster.
Okay, even with the T-Pen era and all
With
of
the
that. So you
T-Pen
didn't
era.
feel it?
Okay.
Hold my hand, please, please.
Okay.
As you join us now, hold my hand and lead me. Show me the way.
Okay. Let's be real now.
Yeah.
The T-Pen did hit, but I wouldn't say it got to me because, like I said, as the money was going, the income was also coming in.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a full blow for me.
Oh, thank God for bringing our ways. Our way, yeah.
I'll show you the way, don't worry.
Okay, so let's get to some of your top stories of 2024.
Okay, my top story for 2024, I would say, is the Dangote refinery.
Okay.
Which is a big break in the oil production industry, because once Dangote is now operational, and then Warri refinery, and then the Port Harcourt refinery. So for me, I'm like, this is a big break because it eased the tension in petroleum availability, and also it, should I say, brings that tip of competition between the Nigerian petroleum industry, that's the NNPC, and also other dealers, because now they're like dealers for oil and gas.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, you looked at it from a different perspective, and she's looking at it from a different perspective. Back to you, though. Let's hear your second take on your top story.
Well, the second one may be something that happened, the death of some prominent Nigerians.
Okay.
That really, like, from the blue, hit people that you didn't know that they were here, people that you were seeing doing what they know how to do best. Suddenly, you hear that they are no more. Talk of the banking icon, the chief executive officer of Access Bank, late Abatwi, just from the that he died, the wife, the son, something that brought tears out of the eyes of many Nigerians. Then you come to think of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Lakbajo. You were seeing him even when the news first broke that he was no more. Excuse me. Sorry. By an investigative journalist. Although government didn't want to own up that he was even sick. At the point they say he was taking his rest, he was taking, but later it came to the reality that the man has gone. And this is somebody that some few days back, you could see him healthy, doing press up, talking to his military officers, energizing them for the fight against insurgency. So these are some of the things that happened in 2024 that really touched the hearts of many.
Okay, quickly, back to you again. Let's see some of your stories again. Which was the next one? We've gotten the first one.
Okay, the next one I would say is the autonomy.
Okay.
The LG autonomy, which I don't know if was part of this, your highlight, your top stories.
Okay.
But the autonomy is a big one because when decisions can be made at the local level, things can, solutions are brought fast. So, and then the president just made a statement about it this year. So I think that's a big hit for 2024.
Yeah, I love that perspective. I love it. Now, the truth is, there's been a local government autonomy and as stated by the Supreme Court. But if you look at it now, in a state like Kaduna State, where the governor is an APC member, all the 225 councillorship positions were won by the APC, and then all the 23 local governments were won by the APC. Not a single Labour Party, PDP, whatever party won a single this in Kaduna State. And then votes were not casted because I was there, I saw it, and I can prove it. So let's get back to you now. Let's get more of your stories.
Okay, let's say something about the local government autonomy.
Okay.
It's like every other thing political in Nigeria. Find out that as soon as it comes out and they want to make it to be what the framers of the Constitution intended, the politicians will hold it and twist it to their own, manipulate it. And that's exactly what is happening to the local government autonomy as pronounced by the Supreme Court. Find out they hurriedly in some of the states conducted the election, to have elected local. But like you have said, who are those that emerged from the elections? They are those that are unpicked or were unpicked by the governor. And you find out that the ruling parties or party in the states who won 100, maybe 100% plus.
Yes, it wasn't just in Kaduna State. Rivers State did the same thing. I think Edo State, Plateau did the same thing, unless except that there was a little bit of leverage. Bauchi State did the same thing. So many other states did the same
except
thing.
Akwa Ibom that gave one local government to the sitting Senate president, who is from that area.
So what you're saying is that the autonomy is going south rather than having its implications.
Yes, the governors.
The local government autonomy is not right.
It's not right.
And one of the things people are saying, oh no, it's not being. It's a good idea. Yes. It's a good idea, but it's not being implemented.
Okay.
Do you understand?
As it
in the right,
as it ought to be.
exactly.
Yes.
So, and some of the suggestions that were made that in 2020 or in the next election, the state government should not be saddled with the responsibility of conducting local government elections. Rather, the federal government should be saddled with that responsibility. That's INEC, not state independent electoral commissions, should be saddled with the responsibility of conducting local government elections. What they successfully did is they failed the people, and the federal government should do something about it. I think that's the only way to salvage it. If they don't stop, if they don't do that, listen, there's no way. In fact, things are going to get worse.
It's going to be impossible to do that because the 1999 Constitution, as amended, has given the responsibility for the conduct of local government election to State Independent Electoral Commission. And except the Constitution is amended, and to amend the Constitution you need to thoughts of the National Assembly and state houses of assembly. And these state houses of assemblies are controlled by the governors. So for them to allow them to sanction, to agree to the amendments of the Constitution in that aspect is going to be difficult. And if you want to do it by fiat, they will go to court, and the court cannot overrule what the Constitution has said. So they have to look at a way out of it before they can allow the independent National Electoral Commission.
So give us a rundown of your top stories now in order so that before we sign out.
Okay, I would say like the End Bad Governance, 2024, the death of these prominent personalities, and as I said, the Dangote refinery. Then internationally, you have the election of Donald Trump and the exit of the former Syrian president al-Assad.
Okay, let's hear from you, some of your top stories.
Okay, I won't run down like him, but I would just say Dangote refinery, LG, autonomy, and I would pick VDM because he was on our faces throughout 2024. And the fact that he came towards the end of the year and did a little stunt with his NGO, after saying, oh, his NGO had missing money on this and that, at the end of the day, he came and said it's a prank. Like, who does that? So for me, VDM also topped my stories. And for the searches, I would say, I think I was part of those people that searched for how to get a curly natural hair.
So.
And for international story, the US election for me. So that's my ranking.
Well, for me, I feel that the AI is underlooked because AI has come and is revolutionizing a lot of things. So if I'm going to pick anything, one of the top stories of 2024 is the coming of AI. It has really simplified a lot of things, and even though a lot of people don't use it, they know about it and they know the implication and the impact on all of that. And then I have to look at the End Bad Governance protest was a big issue for me. And then the US election, most especially the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. That picture was a powerful picture, and it made a lot of a great statement. But well, we are signing out now, and this is the second day of January 2025. Please do us a favor, drop your comment, share, like, tell us something. Which stories do you think made were part of the biggest stories that you came across in 2024? And our social media platforms are Third Eye TV Africa. Third Eye Africa TV rather, and that's on X.